Hi everyone, welcome to lecture number 40, the second lecture on labor market dynamics in India. In our last lecture, we discussed about the employment structure, we discussed about the key indicators of labor market in India like employment, unemployment, labor force participation rate. Also we discussed about the structural change that has happened in Indian economy in last 40 years. We have seen that the structural change, structural transformation has happened in the product market. The share of service sector has substantially increased over 40 years in its contribution to the total GDP, whereas the contribution of primary sector it has declined, agriculture it has declined significantly. However, the share of manufacturing sector, the secondary sector, it is almost stagnant in the GDP share to the GDP. However, in the structural transformation, when we look through the labor market, we have seen that still close to 50% of the workforce they are employed in agriculture, 30 to 30% they are in service sector and rest are in secondary sector, manufacturing sector. And this employment share of manufacturing sector, however, was stagnant over the period of time, and the substantial decrease from the agriculture employment in agriculture, it has moved to the service sector, the sectors like hotel, trade, transport, those kind of construction. In those sectors, the employment has increased. In this lecture, we will discuss about certain employment challenges and policy agendas which the Indian labor market should address in near future. Some of them are policy agendas are in short term agendas, and some long term agendas should be taken in order to address the employment, unemployment challenges in Indian economy. Now, before getting into the employment challenges, let me discuss about the structure of the labor market in terms of its employment distribution. Now, when we look at the distribution of employment across industrial sectors like agriculture, mining, quarry, manufacturing, electricity, water, construction, hotel, trade, restaurant, transport, storage, communication and other services, still if you look at the rural and urban percentage together, still 45%, 46% they are employed in agriculture, and the area like construction, hotel, trade, transport, the employment share has gained in overall. If you look at the agriculture share of employment in the agriculture, you can see the share of female share in the agriculture in the rural areas as well as in the urban areas. You can see more than 60% in the urban areas and more than 75% in the rural areas. The female they are employed in agriculture, and that is one of the problem is that sometimes we call it feminization of agriculture. Most of the agriculture employment is coming from the female rather than male. And you can see the distribution again, if you go through the data, you will find that in urban sector, the employment share in hotel, trade, transport, you can see 23% and 10%, and manufacturing 21% total. Whereas in the rural areas, the share of employment in those sectors are low. So, when it comes to urban and rural distribution, then it seems that across the industries there is uneven distribution of workers in different sectors of the economy. Then when we look at the status of employment in the labor market, the workforce in India, in the rural areas, you can see the pie chart. The first one is for in the rural male, the second one is rural female, the third one is urban male, and the fourth one is urban female. Now, when we go through the status of employment, more than 55%, 58.8% in the rural male, they are self-employed. However, 14% they are regular salaried workers, and 26% they are casual labor. When it comes to rural female, again 71% they are self-employed, just 8% they are regular wage salaried, and 21% are the casual labor. So when we look at the status of employment in rural areas, mostly we find that they are in self-employed and in casual labor. When we look at the distribution or the status of employment in urban areas, you can see in urban areas 49% they are self-employed male and 40% are self-employed female. However, close to 50% female in the urban areas, they are regular wage salaried workers, and 47% male are regular salaried employed. So, close to 50% of the urban workforce, their status in the labor market is in terms of regular wage salaried workers. So, this percentage has increased in last 10-15 years of time, that most of the workers in the urban areas are now having the employment status in terms of regular wage salaried workers. 13% they are casual labor, urban male, and 8% they are casual labor female. So, again when we look through this sectoral distribution as per the employment status of the workers, we can see that urban areas it is mostly dominated by regular wage salaried workers, whereas the rural areas mostly dominated by self-employed workers. Then coming to the education level specific workforce participation rate in usual status, which talks about that the educational attainment of the workers in the workforce. So, when we look at the data, the aggregate data talks about that the overall they are having 56% level of education when we consider and take into consideration. But when we come through the distribution, like 56% they are not literate, then 65% they are up to literate and primary, then 58% they are middle education, so 47% they are secondary education, and 44% they are higher secondary education. Diploma certificate holders are 70%, close to 70%, and graduates are 55%. Postgraduate and above they are 62%, and the secondary and above they are 50%. So, this is the educational attainment, different level of education among the persons those who are age above 15 years, and the data is for 2022-23 taken from PLFS survey data. Now, again when we go through the distribution across rural and urban and male and female across the educational attainment, there is a wide range of disparities and discrepancies in the level of attainment of education and the participation in the workforce. We can see for female it is substantially low in case of urban areas and also in the rural areas when we compare with the counterparts with the males. So, still there is a wide gap between the male and female workforce participation and as per their educational attainment. So, while moving to the condition of employment, mostly we talk about the decent employment. Now, the workers they are working in the regular salaried workers. So, with how far they are achieving the decent employment conditions. Like when we talk about decent employment conditions, we talk about social security, we talk about job contracts, we talk about the eligibility of paid leave, we talk about certain specific of social security benefits. So, when we talk about these regular salaried workers, they are in a usual status, they are engaged in non-agricultural sector. So, how many of them they are having a written job contract? When we go through this information that there could be 4 different types of contracts, either no written job contracts or written job contracts for 1 year or less, written job contracts for more than 1 year to 3 year, or the written job contract which is more than 3 year. So when we talk about this decent employment and the job contract gives one security of job. If the individual, the worker, they are having some kind of job contract in their workplace, then they feel that they are secure about their jobs. So if they don't have any written job contract, then definitely they are more vulnerable in the labor market. Again, when we talk about leave, and this is another kind of quality of employment. When we look at the workers, like the regular salaried workers, those who are engaged in non-agricultural sector, whether they are eligible for any kind of paid leave or any sick leave or maternity leave, such kind of leave they should avail without any loss of pay and as per the condition of employment. So, the situation is will assess that how far they are having this quality of job, and how far the employer they are allowing the workers to go for any kind of paid leave or holidays. So, that is also another parameter to measure the decent employment condition of a worker. Further, when we talk about any kind of social security, so the regular salaried workers, they should have some kind of social security in the form of either only gratuity or health insurance, health maternity benefits, or pensions or provident funds, or pension and healthcare benefits, or only they have gratuity or the healthcare and maternity benefits. So, there are so many categories of social security benefits which are given by the employer to the worker. So, any of these if they are availing, then they are secured with some kind of social security. So, if you look at the data on these parameters, then we have you can see that the percentage of regular salaried employer who had no job contract, no written job contract. Then PLFS data 2023 says that 58% of the workers, those who are regular salaried workers, they don't have any kind of job contracts. However, if you look at the compare the data with 21-22 and 2021, you can see that it has declined, but still 58% of the workers, those who are in regular salaried worker, they don't have any kind of written job contract. Again, you can see the variation across male and female. You can see the difference in rural and urban areas, and how the magnitude of regular salaried workers, they don't have any kind of job contract. And the second parameter, when we look at it, that what is the percentage of regular salaried workers, they are not eligible for any kind of paid leave, whether it is maternity leave or whether it is any health sick leave or any paid leave. So, 46% of them, they don't have any kind of they are not eligible for paid leave, and you can see differences like in rural and urban areas and male and female. However, this percentage has declined from 47.9 in 2021 to 46.8 in 22-23. Further, whether the regular salaried workers, they are eligible for any special or specific job social security benefits, then 53.9% workers, they don't have any kind of social security benefit, they don't have any kind of provident fund, or they don't have any gratuity, they don't have any pension. So, this is another indicator. Now, if you combine these three indicators, it shows that almost more than 50% of the workers, they don't have any kind of written job contract, they don't have any kind of eligibility for the paid leave, or they don't have any kind of social security benefits. So, while looking through this condition of employment and the decent employment condition, it seems that half of the workforce, they don't have any kind of social security or job related paid leave job contract. So, it shows the undecent employment condition, the performance is low. Now, from there, when we look through the wage and income, now income inequality, it has increased across the globe in last 20-25 years of time. So, India is not an exception from there. If you look at the distribution of income, then you can see that top 10% of they have the top 10% of the population, they have 57% of the income of the country they have, and if you look at the top 1%, then top 1% they have the 21% of the income, and bottom 50% they have only 13% of the income. So, the income disparities it has increased over the period of time. You can see from 2000 to 2020, and the discrepancy has increased. The top 10% and the top 1% income generation income inequality has increased significantly, and the bottom 50% their share in the income, it has gone down significantly. So, this is another problem in Indian labor market, that income inequality has increased. This is the phenomena which we have experienced after this globalization of in the world economy in last 20-25 years of time. So, this is an outcome of the market economy model, where you can see that the inequality has increased, income inequality has increased. So, when we summarize the Indian labor market, what are the challenges Indian labor market face? Mostly what we have seen is that the employment generation is slow as compared to the growth rate which the Indian economy has observed. So, further when we look through the structural transformation, we have seen that there is a lack of structural transformation in the labor market. So, despite of a reasonably high growth, there has not been a commensurate expansion in the productive employment opportunities. As you can see that more than 50% of the workers, they do not have any kind of social security, they do not have any kind of job contract, they do not have any kind of paid leave. So, there has been a falling employment intensity of growth. We are achieving a decent growth rate of 7%, 6.5% growth rate, but the employment generation is very low at 1.5% or less than 2%. So, it is widely acknowledged that this has been mainly due to the growth process being service led, whereas in contrast to that the manufacturing lead, and most of the developed countries, they have experienced during their development process. Now, when the structural transformation happens, the usual process happens from agriculture to industry, industry to service. However, in Indian context, it has been seen that India has the leapfrog from agriculture to service, bypassing the industry. So, consequently, the process of structural transformations has been slow in India, and even characterized as a slow structural transformation. It has happened in the labor market. Then another important characteristic is that the labor market inequality and the challenges of technology. In the labor market, the new technologies are developments have happened, and these new technological developments have led to significant changes in the labor market. First, this capital intensity over years have been increasing and leading towards low employment intensity of the growth process. Second, the skill composition of the workers, as we can see that most of them, most of the workers, they are either having low level of educational attainment. So, the skills, the skill composition of the work has been changing with the change in the new technology. And while job requiring is that high skill, so the requirement of jobs are now in more in terms of skills. So, those requiring low skill jobs have been they are declining over the period of time because of the intervention of this technology in the production process. So, the labor market inequalities are happening because of low skilled workers. They do not find their suitable job in the labor market, whereas there is a demand for high skilled high skilled workers, and they are paid, they are getting well paid in the labor market. So, labor market has shown rather high level of inequality in terms of region, social groups, and gender and occupation also. So, this is a major factor behind the labor market inequalities and overall societal inequality in the labor market. Another challenge is that regional disparities. If you look at this, the growth has happened in the different pockets, and it's very specific to the regions. So, regional demographic changes highlight the disparity in the employment outcomes, particularly youth employment across the region. So, many large states in the eastern and central parts of India, they are characterized by youth bloc, and these states are relatively underdeveloped and the low per capita income. So, further these states, eastern and central part of the India, these states, they have small proportion of highly educated youth and low incidence of formal and regular employment, and large proportion of youth they are not in employment. So, this leads to a kind of regional disparities in terms of growth outcomes, also in terms of employment situation and employment labor market outcomes. So, we need more balanced growth now these to reduce this regional disparities across the region. Another challenge is that education and skill mismatch and the employability. We have a large labor force, they are employable, but when it comes to employability, the employability of this large labor force is very low, because the skill which is required in the labor market, the demand for the jobs, the kind of skills which are required because of the intervention of the technology is not matching with the skills which workers they have, and they are already in the labor market. So, we need reskilling of these workers in order to make them more employable in the labor market. So, the proportion of youth with a higher educational level, it has gone significantly. Educational attainment, it has increased in last 20 years of time, and with having more educational attainment, they become more aspirant. As we have already discussed, the moment you get some kind of education and skill, your reservation wage increases. So, this indicates some degree of mismatch. Unemployment rate is quite high in term when it comes to this working age population, and what we have seen is that the relevant skills which are required for the high skill jobs, those who are there in the labor market, they do not have, and also the new entrants, those who are entering into the labor market, they do not have the relevant skill in order to get those jobs. So, which indicates that a crisis of employability. It is also indicates that educational level are an imperfect proxy of the skill level. So, given the coexistence of educated unemployed persons with underqualified workforce in the high skill and medium skill jobs, create some kind of skill mismatch in the labor market. Another challenge is that fast changing technology and the climate change. So, we are all experiencing significant climate change, and vis-a-vis we are also having a fast changing technology. A major challenge emerging in the labor market is from the rapid changing technology that will increasing have major implication on the various aspects of the labor market and employment. For example, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence has created opportunities as well as major challenges also. So, it is a creative destruction, it creates some jobs, also it destroys some jobs. So, the labor market is being and will further be impacted by the climate change, which seems to be occurring more rapidly, and it forecasts that climate scientists only a decade ago that the climate induced migration, the climate induced job change. So, workers they are changing their occupation because of the climate change is there, and climate induced occupational change is happening. So, it is critical to understand the important issue and it is its consequence on the labor market, like transition to the new requirement of this carbon reducing regime. Although the workers in informal sector, they are adversely affected by the extreme weather events such as record break heat waves, opportunities are also emerging in terms of green jobs. So, as we move towards a more greener economy, we are going to create some green jobs. So, there are also opportunities where we can tap to create employment and create some employability for our workforce. So, a major share of India's transformational target of this 500 gigawatt of installed in non-fossil fuel electricity generation capacity by 2030 will come from the renewable energy technologies like solar, wind. So, India can potentially create about more than 3.5 million jobs in short term and long term in the solar and wind sector by installing new capabilities to achieve this targeted non-fossil electricity generation capacity. So, these are the sectors those who are growing where we can have the opportunity where we can create some potential employment. Now, talking about this major concerns, what we have seen is that from the data there is informalization, the casualization of the workers. However, this informalization and casualization of workers, they are increasing in some part it is declining, but still this increasing informalization is a major problem for Indian economy, and decline in the workforce participation of female. In the last PLFS data shows some positive sign that the workforce participation of female has increased, but still it is very low. But when we look at the trend, it has declined, but in last PLFS data it shows that it has increased. So, now perhaps the time has come that we have invested a lot in female education, and the education attainment among the females has increased in last 20 years. Now perhaps it is the time that they come back to the labor market and find certain suitable jobs, and the market, the state, they should be proactive in order to increase this female labor force participation. Further, the labor market inequalities are large, and the disparities and the inequalities have generally increased, what we have seen in last 20 years of time. So, most of the striking disparities between the regular and casual, organized and unorganized sector workers. So, the wage gap is increasing between this organized, unorganized sector, the regular and casual workers. The wage gap, when we look at this, the per worker earnings in agriculture and non-agriculture sector, it has increased, and the ratio is 1:6. And this increasing informalization of employment has also declined the strength of trade unions. This has declined the strength of the worker unions. So, bargaining power of the workers, it has declined because of the decline in the trade unions, the role of trade unions. There are certain positive outcomes which Indian economy has experienced in last 20-25 years of time. Mostly the diversification has happened from agriculture, the employment from agriculture, and it has accelerated. People are moving from agriculture to non-agriculture. Non-farm employment has increased significantly over last 20 years of time. So, there is a rise in wages also, and which leads to decline in absolute poverty. It has increased the standard of living of the people. Further, it has increased the labor productivity, but it is low, but it has increased significantly. So, these are certain positive outcomes which Indian labor market has experienced in last 20-25 years of time. Further, there is a rise in the middle class, which includes better educated and skilled workers and rising income, rising aspiration and high level of consumption, which is the driver of the growth particularly in terms of output as well as employment. So, what we have seen is also that there is certain significant growth in some advanced sectors of the economy like information technology, automobile, pharmaceutical, which have a spillover effect in the other sectors. So, these sectors have certain backward and forward linkages through which they create certain employments. There is also increase in the informal sector also, which has increased some unionization in the informal sector workers. So, these are certain positive outcomes Indian economy has experienced in last 2 decades. Based on the certain challenges and the positive taking into consideration the positive outcomes, the policy agendas has to be taken into consideration a medium to long term employment strategy should have been taken into consideration in order to address the challenges like creating employment for more conducive employment for female workforce, creating certain decent employments like giving some social security, increasing the percentage of social security, increasing the percentage of uh, workers their quality of job, and regulatory intervention in the informal enterprise should ensure the minimum quality of employment should be maintained as the basic right of the workers at their workplace. We have certain regulations, rules and regulations are there, labor market laws are there, but this laws has to be implemented mostly in favor of the workers, giving certain basic rights, and certain appropriate policies and measures to address the issues of education and skill. So, the skill mismatch which we are experiencing, the workers they need to be reskilled. The government of India has taken so many initiatives in terms of skill India, make in India. So, we are trying to create more and more employment in the manufacturing sector, we are trying to generate more skills, and we were trying to reskill the workers so that they find a suitable job in the labor market. So many initiative has been taken into consideration in order to achieve this target of skilling and reskilling the workers. Certain affirmative action policies should be there in order to increase the quality of employment across different social groups and regions. We need to address the regional disparities also. So, growth and the employment should not grow in at different pockets of the country, it should together in a holistic manner it should grow. And there is a need for restructuring macroeconomic policies which will create some conducive environment to create certain employment with taking coordination from both the sides, the state as well as from the market. When we talk about conducive environment, you talk specifically in terms of tax incentives for a particular type of investment or the economic activities. We discussed about the special economic zone, create certain employment, public sector investment in infrastructure or institutional support which promotes the enterprise and development. Then research and development which aims to open up new production methods which are more labor intensive in nature, training and skill systems which make labor more productive. Further, labor codes, recently we have revised our labor codes which encourage hiring, promotion and small and medium enterprises that are known to be more labor intensive. So, uniformity in the labor codes also, we have increased the minimum wage. So, these are the certain policy agendas which has to be taken into consideration, and this affirmative action policies should be there, and the debate over this market flexibility. Market flexibility must be there to resolve the way it meets the need of the both the workers as well as the enterprises. So, labor market laws should not be that rigid and more favorable towards the enterprise, or it should they should be at a proper place. The balance should have been maintained between the flexibility and rigidity so that it will benefit both the workers and the enterprises. Simplification and modification of labor laws are required, and this will ensure the equal pay, strictly enforce the payment of minimum wages, and to provide social security to all the workers, job security trade-offs. So, all these things will provide a minimum level of social security to the workers which will certainly promote the flexibility. So, given this widespread insecurity of livelihood, it is extremely important to provide a minimum level of social security to all the workers, which will certainly promote the flexibility. Of course, the major role in this has to be played by government, and it is now widely viewed that at the present juncture of the development, it is possible for the country to do this. And so many initiatives have also taken into consideration towards covering almost all the workers under some kind of social security. So, combined with the better public provisions of educational and medical services, a universal and portable social protection floor could function as an important instrument in pushing the economy onto the high road of not only the rapid but also more inclusive and sustainable growth. So, effective policy requires a greater effort at mapping, documenting the principal labor and employment developments which is happening and which is a challenge in future. So, economic growth is creating new employment patterns, new labor market issues, new income opportunities, new form of opportunities in terms of jobs, new institutions and forms of organizations, new linkages between work and poverty. So, the diverse and complex characteristics of the work and employment in India needs to an in-depth analysis. So, these aspects need to be better specified and measured and understood if more effective and equitable employment and labor policies are to be put in place. Thank you.